Well, Nick, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure.
My name's Nick Bayer. I'm a visual artist. I'm also the creative director for a company called Taylor Foam. And I get to build a lot of different creative fabrication projects working for Taylor Foam, like Rex here. We do a lot of custom theming, kids areas, pediatricians' offices, and then do a lot of holiday decor and things like that. So we get to do a lot of fun creative projects.
So, what was your journey to being able to make dinosaurs?
So it's quite a long journey, actually. I started out getting a BFA in graphic design, and then from there I went into art education. So I got a master's in art education. Then I wanted to focus more on the fine arts aspect of what I did. So I went and got my MFA in painting from Kansas State University. While I was there doing my grad work, I did a lot of sculpture. Also worked a lot in the scenic department for the theater. So, and then all of that kind of got me more interested in doing installation type pieces, which then led me to using alternative materials like foam, which is what Rex is made out of. So doing a couple projects in foam, I started doing freelance projects for Taylor Foam, the company I work for now. And then they just decided to go ahead and hire me on full time to lead their creative department.
Okay, so tell us how Rex came to be. What was that process?
So originally Rex was working with a client that was called Life Church. Life Church does, in the summer, they do this event called At the Movies. The movie that the church wanted to theme was Jurassic World. So they wanted a life-size dinosaur. We told them, well, this is how much it would cost. They were like, okay, well, it would have been great if we had a life-size dinosaur. But the company I work for, they're great people, and they decided, well, we would love to make a giant dinosaur. So
Right.
we decided
Who would
to
not want to do that?
So we decided to make a giant dinosaur and say, well, we'll just rent him to you so for your event, and then we'll just keep him, and he'll be our mascot for the shop. So that's where Rex came from originally, and he originally he's missing part of his body right now, so he's got a set of legs that are sitting at the shop. So he's a he's a full size, like a 17-foot dinosaur altogether.
When he's all completely
All
assembled.
together,
But for our purposes,
Yeah, for this particular purpose, because we're doing a temporary outdoor public art installation, we wanted to try to have something that was safe so that people could interact with him and around him, and then we didn't have to permanently install him into the ground.
got it. Okay. So, and how did he come to get the name? We can't see that right now, but he does have a collar with the name Rex on it.
Right. So he is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and we just kept calling him, referring to him as Rex every time. We're like, hey, what are we doing with Rex, and how is Rex doing? So that's kind of just stuck. And then for this particular exhibit, since we had already named him, we thought, well, we need to go ahead and tag him just in case he gets lost or something. So we went ahead and got him a dinosaur-sized collar, and it says Rex on the side of it. So
Is this an anatomically correct Tyrannosaurus
Yes.
Rex? You know, the 6-year-olds will know
right,
that.
as close as we could get. So I mean, I'm not a paleontologist, so I'm an artist. So I look at references and I go based on those, and I do take liberties as far as using color and coming up with color schemes and things like that. But as close as we could get.
Okay. So walk me through a little bit the process of making a large-scale foam sculpture.
So when we say that we're using foam, it's EPS foam. There's lots of different types of foam, but EPS just stands for expanded polystyrene, and it's kind of the same type of foam that you would use, you would get from a computer packaging or something like that. And but we have them in massive blocks. They're 8 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot. So these are giant blocks. So for him, the process went pretty much we started subtractively. We just took a large block of foam.
Well, you started with a drawing, or
Well,
did you have a 3D rendering?
We used a small dinosaur toy. That's all we had. We didn't do any drawings for this particular one. We just started with a little 4-inch toy, and I just started carving his head. So when I say carving, I'm using like an industrial hot knife, which is like a knife that's plugged in and it heats up, so it kind of melts through the foam. I'm also using a large, what's called a hot wire bow. So it looks like a bow and arrow, but there's a wire that sheets up, so I can basically carve away large sections of foam. So we kind of start roughing out the form, and then from there we come in with smaller hand tools, rasps and sanding pads and things like that to kind of shape him up.
Okay, so you're working with other people that are
Well,
doing what you say, or are you doing it all by
Rex,
yourself?
for Rex, I did Rex on my own. So, but I do work with a team of artists now because we've just expanded so much. A lot of the projects that we do are just, they're so big in scope that one person couldn't physically do it within a small time frame. So I oversee the work of 2 other artists in the shop, and then I do all the design work, and then I oversee. I'm the lead fabricator and lead painter on all the projects. So and I'm project manager. So I just make sure that the work they're doing kind of fits the main concept that we propose to the client, and it's a good working relationship.
Okay. Before I go on, are there any questions that you want to ask Nick about? Yes, go.
What are some of the other kinds of projects that you've done?
The types of projects we do pretty much range depending on the clients. So we do museum exhibits. So we work with like the Chickasaw Cultural Center, and for them, one of the projects that we've done before is we had models that were in native regalia, and we scanned them using a 3D scanner, and then we replicated them for their council house exhibit. So that's just like one example. Another example for like the Oklahoma History Center is we actually replicated the stockyards sign that's over in the stockyards. And then we'll also do like a Christmas display for like Myriad Botanical Gardens, which will be more whimsical kind of cutout figures that are more of an illustration style that I have. So it really depends on the client. Like we do theming for a kids area, so it's going to be more kid friendly, lots of animated characters. We work for a museum. We're kind of going for more photoreal kind of type of works. So.
And I suppose it depends on how much creativity goes into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, when you are working with a client, they have their input, and we want to take that. And lots of times, I think of myself as a narrative artist in my own work, and also when I'm working for Taylor Foam, because there's always a story to tell, and we want to make sure that story is being told.
Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on?
And they're all kind of like my babies. So I love all the projects we get to work on. We put a lot of heart into what we do, and so each one is actually hard to get done. We love Rex because he's kind of our own. So and he stays with us. So but they're all great projects.
Has it been hard being without Rex for?
No, he's in a good place.
Okay.
So he's being taken care of. Yes. So it's great. Now it was fun to be able to participate in this because this is a public space. It's great to be able to put him on display and let people interact with him, especially young kids, because they love being able to get up close and personal with a dinosaur, and nobody's going to get hurt. So that's always nice.
Yes.
How many hours did it take,
roughly? So this was because of the time frame of this particular project. I was doing probably like at least 12-hour days for about 4 weeks. So, I mean, because, half of him is not here, so it's more than just what you see. But I would start and I would carve his head, and then I would put that onto another block and start carving it down. And then eventually it got, I had this top section built, and then we had to, suspend him in the air so that we could start building his legs. So it was a pretty intensive process because of just his scale. And then once we had him built, we had to cut him apart because we had to be able to fit him into a truck and get him out the door. I mean, so we have to really compartmentalize a lot of the pieces that we build because they're so big. But we're also working with clients all across the state, so we got to make sure that it can fit in our truck and then go through whatever door frame that we're trying to get into. So it's always unique, and we have to think about all those little things because you don't want to show up and then you can't get in the door.
Has that happened before?
Not with me, no. It has happened before, but I'm always like, let's make sure we can get it in the truck and get it out of the truck and go through the door.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of your personal projects?
Sure. So my personal style work is it's also reflected in some of the pieces that we do for Taylor Foam. But a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, I like to do, I call them like interactive like pop-ups basically. So it's like a two-dimensional painting, but it's a layered space pretty much. So there'll be cut-out sections. Anymore, I like to do large, like three-dimensional objects, and then I'll kind of use wood or like a lath and kind of cover them so it looks like it's a woven piece. So and I like to do those in large scale, trying to create, moving more into doing immersive installation type pieces. So.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, Nick, if you have any dream projects that you would love to take.
Yes. So what I would really like to do is some kind of immersive installation space, taking almost like one of these big box crates, and then transforming the interior of that using some drawings or some dreamscapes that I've created, so that people can actually walk through these spaces, and that it becomes a traveling exhibit that would go to different schools or different other art organizations, so that people can interact with my work in that way. It's more of a taking the work to them rather than coming to the work.
So you could do it like a big van or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a big truck.
Yes.
So if somebody out there has a truck,
Yes.
we could turn that into a reality.
Absolutely.
That sounds like a great idea. Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there other questions from the audience?
I don't know, maybe what other sorts of material? Like, are there different types of foam that you're working with?
Yeah, so when we talk about EPS foam, it really comes down to different densities of the foam. So when you're talking about different types of foam, it's usually done in the weights of the foam itself. So you can take a small block of foam, and then we saw that 1 pound because it weighs 1 pound. But we can take the same size, and it can be more compact, and we'll call that 2 pounds. So it's more rigid. And you can get that up to 4 pounds, and then it goes up and up, so it gets even more compacted. So it's even more rigid. So depending on what you want to use and what you're doing with it, you can get different densities in the foam. There's what there's a closed cell and open cell. So if you're talking about other types of foam, you have like the upholstery foam that's more flexible and soft. So all of those you can utilize them. There's another type of foam we call it polyethylene that's more flexible. So depending on what we need to do, we may utilize different types of foam. So if we're building like a costume for somebody, it needs to move, so we may use a different type of foam.
How many different types? Is this just one foam?
Yeah, this is all like just a 1 pound foam. I particularly like to use the 1 pound. It's easier to carve. It's just a little bit more versatile, so I can work a little bit faster. Plus, the weight is less than using those denser foams. So the weight issue is important, because if you are creating something like this that's going to travel, or if it's going to be suspended, being able to cut down on the weight is important. And for a lot of artists who are using other types of materials, they don't realize that foam is that option for them, because typically foam is brittle and it can fall apart, which makes it easy to sculpt. But if you're going to sit it on its own, it's not going to last. But something like Rex here, he's been coated with a Broadway coating. That coating will allow him to be outdoors